You know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast brought to you by NBA 2K23. I am Mo Mootsie, alongside me as always, the one, the only, Mr. BJ Armstrong. BJ, how you doing?
Real name, real name, real name. No gimmicks. No gimmicks tonight, Mo. No gimmicks tonight. Let's get to it. Let's get to it.
I have to offer two apologies on this show. We start on a serious note. Number one,
okay.
I'd like to extend my apologies and condolences to Mike Budenholzer, coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. And today the news came out that he lost his brother during the course of the last series against Miami. So all of the things we said about your coaching, they become a lot more understandable when you put the human aspect into it. So thoughts and prayers go out to the Budenholzer family. However, the Milwaukee Bucks, you've got a whole team of assistant coaches. Not one of you could have told him to call a timeout. That's a whole different story. The second apology is we promised that we wouldn't do this. We promised that we wouldn't start recording the show whilst the game is still going on after the Minnesota Timberwolves came back in the fourth quarter against the Denver Nuggets when we thought the game was over. However, we're watching game 6 of the Lakers Grizzlies right now. The Lakers are up over 30 points, and we feel like it's safe to start taping this show. We didn't think we'd do it again, but here we are. BJ, let's start with the Lakers. Let's start with the Grizzlies. And tell me your thoughts. They've got the biggest lead of the series. They're blowing out Memphis in game 6 to close it out at home at the Staples. Jack Nicholson's back in attendance. Adele is in the building. They got all the stars there. And the Lakers are putting on a show right now.
Well, the Lakers, they came out ready to play. And, this is a must game for the Lakers, and you got to give them credit. And, and it's fourth quarter is just beginning or something. But give those guys credit. They came out with a focus. More importantly, they're making shots. And, D'Lo started this thing up. He started it off terrific, came out. He was making shots. And when you make shots, Mo, that really, it gives you an advantage. And these guys are up, 30-something points right now as we speak, going into the fourth quarter. So look like they have this game in hand. It would take a true miracle, but very unfortunate for Memphis in this regard. When you're in a must game, a high pressure game, you have the scouting report. You've played this team now 5 times, 6 times, 5 previous times, and now this is a 6th. And you come out with an effort like this, that's just unacceptable. That's just unacceptable on all fronts. So I think the Memphis Grizzlies, they've been through a lot this year. I know injuries will be a part of it, and that is. But, what they've been through, not only on the court, but off the court, I think they're going to have to really evaluate what they're doing. Because, Mo, they had this is a team that you keep thinking is ready to take the next step. And now this is a first round exit. So, I think they're going to have to take a long look at what they're going to do, move forward, and really, just try to get a team that they can feel that can do what I think that their regular season record says, which this is a team at the very least should get to the second round or to the conference finals. I mean, they finished, second. I think they finished second this year. And now they're going to get ousted by the 7th seed. And it's not good, Mo. That's not good.
BJ, this series for Memphis, this game in particular, game 6, you got the chance to force a game 7. And you go into the Staples or the Crypto or whatever it is now, you're down 40 points. This is a downright embarrassment. This is an embarrassment on so many levels. Let me tell you this. Ja Morant, he said, I'm good in the West. It's not looking so good now, is it, bruv? Dylan Brooks, he said, LeBron doesn't like to go left. And then in the game the other day when they went to overtime, LeBron went to his left and scored the game-winning bucket or the clutch bucket to secure the win. And then Dylan Brooks, you should be ashamed of yourself. Dylan Brooks said, I poke bears. LeBron's old. I ain't got to respect him till he drops 40 on me. Now, not only Dylan Brooks, have you gone out and embarrassed yourself this series by being abysmal on the offensive side of the basketball. Defensively, you couldn't hold LeBron. They had to switch Xavier Tillman, the third string center of the Memphis Grizzlies, onto guarding LeBron because you couldn't do it. And you pride yourself on being a defensive player. You said LeBron's old. I don't have to respect him. And then you get humiliated in the closeout game. It's not even like it's a close game. You have been well and truly destroyed. And to make matters worse, you gave the quote about LeBron being old and say he's not the same as he was and you don't have to respect him. And then after that, you lose. And you say to the media, I'm not doing any interviews. I don't want to do any interviews. I've got nothing to say. Dylan Brooks, keep the same energy the whole way through. Anyone can talk when they're up. There's a famous scene in a documentary about that. Who's going to talk when they're down, BJ? I'm looking at Dylan Brooks. I'm looking at Ja Morant. I'm fine in the West. I'm looking at Dylan Brooks. LeBron's old. He can't go left. And they're getting cooked. Now, it's worth putting into context. Had Steven Adams and Brandon Clark been healthy, I think the series goes differently. However, you can only play the hand you're dealt. And the hand the Memphis Grizzlies were dealt, they overplayed it. They talked too much. They let their mouths run a lot, way too much. They need to really look at themselves and question, is this team good enough to talk this level of trash? Because nobody respects you if you talk trash and can't back it up. That's where I'm at with the Memphis Grizzlies right now. You're the 2nd seed. You're playing the 7th seed. The Lakers are obviously a different side to what they were for the majority of the regular season, but nevertheless, you've got the continuity. You've got a squad that's been together for some time now, a couple years. You've got a superstar, Ja Morant. You've got Dylan Brooks, who considers himself one of the best defenders in the NBA. You've got the reigning defensive player of the year. However, in this series, and in particular this game tonight, Anthony Davis is by far the better defensive player. What they've done tonight and locking up the Grizzlies, they can't score in the paint. They're scared anytime they go in the paint. They don't want to be there. They don't want to take layups. They're terrified. They're terrified. So here we are. Memphis, Cancun. Now, I really hope they don't make a 40-point comeback in the 4th quarter. Otherwise, all of that is going to have to be reversed. But that's where I'm at with the Grizzlies, BJ. That's where I'm at. How do you see this team progressing? You think they're just going to run it back?
It's like anything. I don't know. When I look at these guys, first of all, I like their competitive spirit. First and foremost, I do think they compete. I like they're a young team. They're brash, and I like it. And I like what they do. However, there were a lot of things that they had to overcome, and it's just more to, and not so much, just what happened on the court. It's what happened off the court. We don't want to rehash it, but Ja Morant had some things, and they've had some key injuries to some really key players to their group. And in spite of all that, I don't want to disregard what they did during the regular season. I mean, in spite of everything that happened to them off the season in the regular season, as all teams, things happen. This team still finished 2nd, so they're working with some talent, and that's why I like them. It's because they compete. In the end, the business of 82 games, that's your main business, and overall they did a really good job. However, not making any excuses for them. They lost 2 big pieces to their puzzle, and Steven Adams and the kid Clark. And that's if it's one thing we've seen, I know we're in a small ball era, but one thing that's been consistent is if you're going to win in this league, you got to have key contributions from your bigs. That's just the way the game is. And it's not always scoring. It has to be defensive efforts. So, for instance, Mitchell Robinson, wow. Okay. Jokic, Joel Embiid, Kevon Looney, 22 rebounds. Draymond Green comes off the bench, has 20. When Sabonis or somebody plays well, Trey Lyles was the guy who played well for them tonight. They win. Anthony Davis tonight. So you can see the contributions that's needed. Okay. And, Tillman is a really good player. However, Tillman, without question, is their third string guy. All right. It just is what it is. I mean, that just is what it is. And when you miss Steven Adams and you miss the Clark kid, and then, you throw in the other kid, Luke Kennard, who they could use him. They've got some key players not playing.
That was a big
John
loss
Morant.
tonight.
I think he
Luke
missed
Kennard
the game.
not being there was a big impact on their,
and then didn't John Morant, he's
offense.
missed the game.
Yeah, he has the hand injury as well. And there's definitely valid reasons, right? But
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think when you ask me what I think they're going to do, here's what I think they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's no reason to panic. But the thing that's disappointing is you play with what you have. I thought they were better. I thought they were more competitive than to be down 30 something points going into the fourth quarter. Now, there's a way to lose. I didn't expect for them to lose this way. Now, in saying all of that, I think the following has to be: what is this team and who is this team as it's currently constructed? Now, they're going to have to be healthy. Clearly, I want to see them healthy. I think
that's every team, though. That's every team.
Yeah, well, it's not every team because this team here hasn't accomplished anything. See, and they have a timeline. Like, at some point, the timeline of Steven Adams is different than the timeline of John Morant. The timeline now, Clark is coming back off of an Achilles injury. So now these timelines change. Now, some of these guys, are going to start going on the books. John Morant now is coming on the books as a max player now.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think it's so much here. And I'm constantly trying to even remind you, Mo, like roster construction is an art all into itself. And just looking at a game without the ramifications of what the books mean and how you're going to build this team, how you're going to distribute the money. What are you going to do with these players? Like, what are you going to do with Dylan Brooks? What are you going to do with Desmond Bane? What are you going to do with now the other kid, Jaren Jackson Jr.? Now he's a reigning defensive player of the year. What does that look like now? What are you going to do with Steven Adams? How are you going to replace Clark? Are you going to re-sign Luke Kennard? I mean, they have all these players here. They're a small market team. This isn't Golden State. This isn't the Lakers. This isn't the Knicks. So they have some key decisions that they have to make based on what they're going to do. And what does that mean when you start comparing your roster, your timeline to the other timelines?
Mm-hmm.
So they have a lot of decisions to make because at some point here, you got to start paying these players. And they've already made the first domino has already fallen. John Morant is going to come on their books as a max player.
And deservedly so.
Okay. Hey, deservedly, undeservedly, who am I? He got it. So now those are the facts. Okay. All of that stuff. I'm not here to I'm where I'm from. You don't count another person's money. You play the game, you do it. So whatever happens. But what I do know is now they got to build around this and they got to build a team that's going to be competitive. And you got to see what the other teams are going to do. Are they going to go into the luxury tax? I don't know those questions, but I do know they have a good team. And if you ask me, I think they could be better than what they even displayed this year. And they finished second. But how good is this team to actually say they can win the final game of the season? That I don't know watching them. But it's going to require, like every team can say they need health, but how realistic is the health as compared to the other teams? Because every team can say that.
Well, the Lakers are finally looking healthy. Anthony Davis is looking absolutely dominant. And if the Lakers keep playing like this, they could end up in the NBA Finals. They're looking like they've put something really special together here in the second half of the season. So a fantastic win for LeBron and AD and Austin Reeves, and D'Angelo Russell had a great game tonight. They've really got it cooking. So the other game that happened this evening was the Golden State Warriors at home
Is
with a
that,
chance
that's it?
to.
Is that to set up the other game? Is that it?
I'm building it.
I mean,
I'm
is that
building it.
The other game? Oh,
I'm
that's the only game. What are you talking about? The other game?
I'm building into it.
Okay, all right.
The Golden State Warriors had the chance to close out the series at home, just like the Lakers did against the Sacramento Kings. The arena was actually really empty before tip-off because it was a 5:30 tip West Coast time, and traffic and whatnot meant people couldn't get there.
That's tough.
Whereas the Staples, on the other hand,
throws your rhythm off.
Yep.
It really does. Those 2 hours throw your rhythm off.
So that kind of throws them off their rhythm, but they could not get business done. You know, the Lakers, as soon as their game began, they were locked in from the tip. The Warriors, on the other hand, it was an unserious performance. It wasn't even close down. They had the bench players playing in down the stretch. The Kings did a great job. They went to really push the pace. And early on in the game, Sabonis, for the first few minutes, he was really aggressive. He was shooting some jump shots. He was looking to score. And then that kind of went away. So Mike Brown took him out of the game and replaced him at the 5 with Trey Lyles. And they went ultra small. You know, the Warriors have already gone small by taking Draymond Green out of the starting lineup. Now, the Kings went even smaller by taking any bigs out of their lineup to see how the Warriors would adjust to things. And they were hitting their threes. The role players really stepped up. Now, this is their third game on the road this season. I think the first 2 games, the role players couldn't hit their shots. Now they found their rhythm. Trey Lyles and these guys really did a great job. And they did what they do. They played Kings basketball and they won the game. The thing that really impressed me was even when they had a lead in the fourth quarter, they carried on playing their offense and playing how they want to play rather than trying to run the clock down like a certain Eastern Conference team that wears green. That stresses me out all the time. So they closed out the game really nicely. They did a great job. The key points here for the Warriors is they missed 10 free throws, which was very unlike Golden State way of playing basketball. And they allowed 18 offensive rebounds from Sacramento. I think Keegan Murray got 5 of them. Sabonis got 9 offensive boards. The standout player for me was Malik Monk. And Malik Monk is averaging 19.8 points in the playoffs so far on 60% true shooting coming off the bench. On the other hand, his somewhat equivalent on the Golden State roster, Jordan Poole, is averaging 12.7 points on 34% shooting, 24% from 3, and I don't even know how many turnovers. But the Warriors just weren't composed. They didn't have it tonight. What was your thoughts on the game?
Well, a couple of things. You know, Coach Brown has stuck with this. We're going to control the pace of the series. And, you know, I think I said this at the beginning of the series. The Golden State Warriors play that style of basketball currently better than the Warriors do. The Warriors can't. Normally, the Warriors are the fastest team on the court. Well, in this series, they're not. Check. That goes to Sacramento. Now, Sacramento was able to impose their will on the game, partly because they were able to get some stops, but they did something that was key tonight. When you're playing in a series, when you're playing, you have to find and take away something, and you have to live with something. Whenever Draymond Green or Kevon Looney plays well, the Warriors win. Okay, the Warriors had a game where both of them played well. One of them had 21 points. I think it was Draymond. And the other had 22 rebounds in the same game. If one of those guys plays well, Kevon Looney minus Draymond, because they won the game when Draymond was suspended, they're going to win. Okay, because you can't defend everything. But if you take away something, now what did the Kings do today? They played their normal way they play. They play fast. They play aggressive, whether you score or not. However, whenever Draymond or Kevon Looney drove the ball, they were always in position to take the offensive charge, which I found fascinating. Mm-hmm. Okay. I also found fascinating that for the first time in the series, the Sacramento Kings finally found some half-court offense, with the exception of De'Aaron Fox, that they went to, and that was they were going to target Kevon Looney in all of their half-court offense. Now, Now, when you see that happening, because they need Kevon Looney to do what? To rebound the basketball. Because, again, why did the Sacramento Kings win the first 2 games? They were the more physical team, and they offensive rebounded. With Kevon Looney off the floor, they feel they are the more physical team, which to me is kind of odd because when you say physical players, you look at Draymond Green, you look at their players, they're normally the team that's kind of initiates the contact. But offensive rebounding is something that the Golden State Warriors can't control because De'Aaron Fox does what all good offensives try to do. They try to engage a second defender. De'Aaron Fox, you have to guard with 2 or more players. That's just a fact. There's no one on the Warriors that can guard him. No one. So when he drives and even he misses, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, Sabonis, and all those guys are just offensive rebounding the basketball. And that is the problem. That's the dilemma here. Now the Sacramento Kings have did something to me, which was even better than that. They're saying, okay, when Kevon Looney is in the game, we're going to pull him out and force him to guard
on the perimeter,
our offensive player. And then let's offensive rebound.
Because he's not waiting in the paint to get the rebound.
Because they got to help. Yeah,
yep.
they have to help. They have to help. So now your offensive rebounders are the following, which I don't even know why I watch this. I don't watch the game. I just watch all of the stuff that they're doing. So here's something that just so your rebounders now are Jordan Poole, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. Those are your rebounders. Well, okay, that's a problem. Coach Steve Kerr has a huge dilemma. Now, I think he has to go zone. He has to go zone here. He's going to have to go zone in 1. He's going to have to do something because no one can stay in front of this kid, De'Aaron Fox. If the other kid, Malik Monk, starts getting loose, because you can't guard him with just anyone, right? You got to guard him with another athlete. Their second best athlete on the perimeter is Gary Payton, but Gary Payton is not a scorer.
Nope.
So Steve Kerr has a huge dilemma if they target this kid, Kevon Looney, because now Kevon Looney is on the perimeter, and then he's forced to play on the offensive end with 2 bigs who aren't really offensive players. I don't know if you can count on Draymond Green to score another 20 points in this series. Not saying he's not capable, but if he's not, you can't tell me that suddenly the offense now is letting Draymond Green truck up threes in Game 7. I don't think that's how they're going to, they're going to figure. That's not the game plan. So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot to unpack. They're going home talking about Sacramento, and I think it's going to be fascinating to watch. I think you have to go zone. I think both teams are probably going to come out tight, but Sacramento has found something now. Now, can they exploit it? Will Steve Kerr counter it? I'm sure he will counter it. How he will counter it, and whoever imposes their will on the situation will probably win this game. And it could go either way right now as I look at it.
I mean, the other thing is with the Warriors, they looked real tired in this game. They looked real sluggish. Now, you always talk about how Sacramento plays at a tempo that no one can keep up with. But the other factor that you got to think about is the defensive scheme of the Warriors. When they are dropping so far back off Sabonis, the energy it's taking the other 4 players to deny those handoffs that he's trying to provide by chasing the offensive players around, that takes a lot of energy as well. So they've slowly started to wear down the Warriors when they're on the defensive side of the ball throughout the course of the series. So the all-important question is, BJ, who's winning Game 7?
It's anybody's game. This is anybody's game.
You got to pick one.
I really don't. I really listen. Okay, if you're asking me, just like I told you, here. The Laker game. I told you I was going to pick the Lakers. But okay, you got to knock the champ out. The Warriors, they haven't been knocked out. They probably should have been knocked out, but they weren't. The Warriors, on the other hand, they had their chance to knock them out. Had them on the ropes. They did knock them out. This is anybody's game, Mo. This is anybody's game. Who's going to win? I'm just going to say the Warriors. Why? Because they're the champs. I'm not gonna disrespect the champs. Because they've been there. The Sacramento Kings haven't been there. And that's all I can really say about it. I don't have a reason. You can make your argument, Mo, for Sacramento. They're at home, da-da-da. But you know what? They're like 22-0 or something, right? And like you know, in the series in the Western Conference or something like that. Like, why now? So, but at some point, you know it's going to happen. I was really surprised, but I shouldn't be surprised because a 5 o'clock tip-off throws off your routine. And athletes are creatures of habits, okay? That little 2 hour, you go, oh, there's 2 hours, whatever. Well, it throws your nap time off. It throws how you get to the game off. It throws the routine of your family off. It's all, but it's easier to adapt on the road. Why? Because you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You know, you just wake up, you got room service, boom, boom, boom. You get on what time is the bus? Okay, we're leaving an hour earlier, whatever it is, and you just go over there. So I think Game 7 is anybody's game. Mo, it's anybody's game. I don't think no team has an advantage. I think the Warriors, the way they played tonight, I think they were very confident that they were going to win this game.
Yeah, almost too
Warriors thought
too confident.
I thought they were very confident in the way they came out. They were maybe a little comfortable. Maybe they were a little bit beside themselves, but I think they will be on high alert. But sometimes, Mo, you know, you lose your edge. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. And I'm not going to go against the champ. You know, I think it was Rudy T. He said, you never underestimate the heart of a champion. Mm-hmm. They are true champions over there. They're true champions. And if Sacramento does win this game, it's going to be because, again, they're going to get efforts and contributions, Mo, that Trey Lyles, again, showed up. Trey Lyles was terrific. And I want to point out also the Davis kid.
Terrence Davis made his appearance.
Yes. Terrence Davis was a player that I got to give. These coaches know their team better than we do. Terrence Davis, maybe he was in your scouting report, Mo. I didn't have Terrence Davis as making a key contribution in Game 6 in a must game on the road for the Sacramento Kings. Okay, I didn't have him.
He dropped a 30-piece back in November, but
okay,
I didn't expect to see him in the playoff rotation.
Oh, okay, all right. That's all we need to say. I don't think anyone had him. I didn't have him as making a key contribution in a Game 6 in a must game. But Coach Brown knows his team better than we do. He found a matchup. He went away from Alex Len, who had made some contributions, and he goes smaller, and he goes to Davis. Great move. Now, let's lay it all out there and see what happens in Game 7. We will be in for a treat. You and I will be right there, and I don't know. So I'm just going to say the champ, but I'm telling you, that atmosphere, Mo, is going to be off the charts. Tomorrow, I owe you. I forgot to pick up the cowbell. I'm going to get a cowbell tomorrow. One. Oh, did you get one? Okay. You got the cowbell, so I don't need to get that. So I have no excuses for not having the energy necessary. I don't have to do any extra things. And then we're going to be in for a treat. And let's enjoy it. And then let's look at it and figure out, because these two coaches are doing a masterful job. I mean,
it's a game of chess.
Oh man, these guys are masters. I mean, they're two of the finest coaches in the NBA, in the entire NBA. Steve Kerr has done an incredible job, And I can't wait to see the strategy that they're going to implement and try to execute in Game 7. I mean, what a treat we're in for.
Man, I cannot wait. But before Game 7, tonight, we have a Game 1. It's weird. A Game 1 of the second round starting before the first round finishes. But we got the Suns heading on the road to Denver. We've spoken a little bit about this series already. I really don't know who to pick because obviously Denver, they're at home, best record in the West, MVP. But I just can't see the matchups defensively on who the hell's going to guard Kevin Durant. Like Aaron Gordon's your best defender, right? Are you going to put him on KD, or are you going to put Michael Porter Jr. on KD and have Aaron Gordon roaming off the ball? I don't know what Denver's going to do. I'm fascinated to see how the Denver Nuggets match up in this series against the Phoenix Suns. And conversely, is DeAndre Ayton going to be able to step up to the plate up against Nikola Jokic? And how are the Phoenix Suns going to handle the Denver Nuggets? How do you see Game 1 going? Do you see it as like a feel-out game? Or what's your kind of prediction for this?
Well, the first thing, let's figure out, when you come out in Game 1, you got to figure out something that you can do. Okay, so the Phoenix Suns right now, they have an opportunity in these first 2 games to get one.
I think
that's what you do. Okay, so let's figure out what we can do on both sides of the ball. Now, just a couple years ago, DeAndre Ayton did a spectacular job versus Jokic in the playoffs to allow them to advance to go to the NBA Finals just 2 years ago. So we know he has the capability. Are we depending on that? I don't know if we can depend on that. However, DeAndre Ayton has the talent to do it. And he can get something accomplished. So I'm not concerned with him when I say him. Jokic just totally dominating. Do I think he's going to dominate games? Absolutely. I mean, he's that good of a player. You're not going to hold him down. However, DeAndre Ayton should be able to do whatever he needs to do as well on the other end, because Jokic not only has to worry or be concerned about Ayton, he's the last line of defense for them.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to have to anchor that defense. And that defense now not only has Devin Booker on the wing, they have a player that's just lethal. Kevin Durant.
AD.
Okay, so now I think this is going to be tricky for Jokic, because Jokic has to be above average on the defensive end. He's going to do what he's going to do on the offensive end. I have no doubt about that. But on the defensive end, if Kevin Durant suddenly catches a rhythm, because he hasn't really,
he's still warming up.
Crazy to say.
He's still warming up.
This is crazy to say. The guy's averaging 30 points a game, and you're going, he hasn't caught a rhythm yet. Like Devin Booker is playing out of his mind right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Devin Booker, can we agree on this, Mo? Devin Booker's one of been in the top 5 players in the first round so far, right? Jimmy Butler has to be
Jimmy Butler, the top 2, in my opinion.
Well, Jalen Brunson. I think Jalen Brunson is probably
That's true.
Top 2.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, but Devin Booker is right there. I mean, he's 3, 4, 5, or wherever you want to put it. But Jalen Brunson and Jimmy Butler have probably, in my mind, I think
Book's up there with Jimmy. I think Jimmy's a clear-cut number 1, but however you want to cut the rest.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy
I think Booker's at an advantage because the game's easy for him because he's got Kevin Durant on his team, whereas Jalen Brunson has to do more.
Spend a lot of time. Let's just say that he's somewhere up there in the top.
He's
5.
one of the best. Yeah, he's one of the best.
Yes. Now, KD at some point here, knock on wood, if he stay healthy, he's going to catch.
Oh yeah,
a flow. Okay, and Mo, I just don't know if they have the depth or the matchups, because they're going to have to guard one of those guys or choose which one of those guys they're going to have to defend one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you can guard either one of them one-on-one.
Okay? I don't trust anyone on the Nuggets roster to guard them one-on-one.
Yeah. Well, I think Caldwell Pope can match up with, I'm not saying he can stop him, but I think that's a good matchup. He has the size. I think he has the physicality. He has the experience. I think he can and force him into tough shots.
I think Bruce Brown is a good defender as well. Maybe I exaggerate.
Bruce Brown is a defender, but he's small.
Yeah,
but he's small. He can't guard KD. I mean, come on.
I was talking about Devin Booker.
And he can't guard Devin Booker. Devin Booker is he's not big enough. However, that's another discussion. I just think it's going to be tough because whatever it is, both of those players are going to engage a second defender. That's a fact. Now, are they going to? Who are they going to help off of? Gordon can't help at all.
He's going to go
and I can't. Michael Porter Jr. I can't put on
the call
Kevin Durant unless I'm just saying every time he catches it, we're just going to double, and that way, at least you got two defenders over there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you put a lot of times you'll put your worst defender on a player, knowing very well we're going to double anyway. So why even allow the other guy to get in? And then late you can go to Jeff Green, or late you know that could be.
Yeah.
So let's see what Coach Malone does. But I just think overall, I think the Suns. I mean, I think they can win one. They could go home, and then come back and come back home in Game 6 and finish the thing. So I'm going to say 6. I'm going to say 6 to the Suns. And I just see the Suns, if everyone is healthy, everyone is here, and I don't know how they're going to defend with Murray. Like I'm assuming Murray's going to defend. Chris Paul. Oh, that's what I'm assuming that's where he's going to go.
I think that the Suns can go in there and win Game 1 tonight.
I'm not taking it away. I mean, Kevin Durant is capable.
Well, what's weird is
Durant is capable.
This playoffs, we've seen the number 1 and number 2 defense go home in Milwaukee and Cleveland. So it's not like Denver even had a great defense to begin with, but it's clear offensive firepower is the way to go.
Mo? That's very interesting.
That's the topic for this summer, my brother.
Yeah, that's interesting. And Mo, I'm gonna tell you something. Toughness wins. And that's the one thing. That's the one thing, Mo, that the analytics doesn't show is the physicality and the toughness that's necessary to play. Like, when you look at both of those teams, Milwaukee and Cleveland, they have shot blockers. They both contest shots at the rim. And I'm sure the numbers, show that, because you can't attack the rim against those shot blockers and those big bodies that they have. Both of them have, 2 7-footers respectively that are good athletes. However, the Miami Heat were the tougher team. And clearly, without question, the New York Knicks were the tougher team in that series. The Knicks have had the best defensive rating in the playoffs. Yeah, I mean the New York Knicks are playing bully. They play bully basketball right now, and a part of that is because of Mitchell Robinson. I mean, he's been phenomenal. It was a mistake on my part. The Cleveland Cavaliers had the number 1 ranked defense in the regular season, eliminated. Boston Celtics were second. They squeaked through past the Hawks. The Grizzlies were third, eliminated. The Bucks were fourth, eliminated. The Bulls were fifth, eliminated in the play-in. The Pelicans were sixth, eliminated in the play-in. And the Suns, weirdly, were seventh. But I think that was a lot more statistically stacked for Mikal Bridges when he was there. But we're going to be here tomorrow breaking down what happens in Game 1 between the Suns and the Nuggets. And we're going to give you a full preview of Sunday's schedule. Man, how good is this schedule, right? Especially for fans in the UK. 6 p.m., Knicks versus Heat Game 1. 8:30 p.m., Game 7, Warriors Kings. And at 1 a.m., the Lake. Oh, no, that's not even on. That's it. 2 games. Nice and early. I'll actually be able to sleep before Monday, BJ. Before the Celtics start against the Sixers and give me stress. Game 7 for the Lakers is cancelled now because they just won. Final score, as we wrap this one up, is 125-85. The Lakers take 40 points. I mean, Mo, we were worried about 30
great mental
points.
maths, by the way, BJ. Fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it's that's unacceptable. That's going to be hard for the team, hard for the coaching staff. What do you say? Hard for the players, for those guys who played.
I believe what they say over there is, it's the parade in Summer City, yeah. But not this year, Memphis. Make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, share with your friends, all that good stuff. And most importantly, unlike the Memphis Grizzlies did tonight, get buckets.